Salam.
Virochamana Salam. Vibhushikam Kalayanguliyakale.
Vibhushikam Kalayanguliyakale.
Mahadanai Purakankana Divi.
Mahadanai Purakankana Divi.
Snidamalam Kuchitanila Kuntalai.
Snidhamala Kuchitanila Kuntalai.
Virochamana Asate Shalom.
Virochamana Asate Shalom.
Vibhushitam.
Well decorated. Mekalaya. With an ornamental wreath. About the waist. Unguliyakai. By his finger rings. Mahadanai. All highly valuable. Nupura. Ringing leglets. Kanka Adibi. Also by bangles. Snigdha. Slick. Amala. Spots. Akunchita. Curling. Nila. Bluish. Like we have there's Nila Madhava. Madhava, bluish. Kuntalai. Hair. Virochamana. Very pleasing. Anana. Face. Asa. Smile. Pesalam. Beautiful. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. The Prabhupada ki jai. He is well decorated with an ornamental wreath about his waist and rings studded with valuable jewels on his fingers. His leglets, his bangles, his oiled hair curling with a bluish tint, and his beautiful smiling face are all very pleasing. Purport. The Supreme Personality of God is the most beautiful person amongst all others. And Srila Sukadeva Goswami describes every part of his transcendental body, one after another, in order to teach the impersonalists that the personality of God is not an imagination, but a devotee or facility of worship, but is the Supreme Person in fact and figure. The impersonalist feature, the impersonal feature of the Absolute is but his radiation, as the sun rays are but the radiations from the sun. Om Jnana Tamanandasya Jnana Salakaya Chakshurvadena Tasmai Shri Guruvena Bhagavatam Bhanganam Hare Grim Yat Kripataraham Bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Vachikapati Vishya Kripasindhude Vicham Padidhanam Bhavya Vishveya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So here it's explaining that Krishna is a supreme person, and it's stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Yom Mam Evam Masam Bhudo, Janti Purusa, Sasaravid Bhajanti Mam, Sarvabhavena Bharata, that whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of God, he is the knower of everything, and therefore he engages in devotional service. The devotee asks Prabhupada, so the pure devotee knows everything. Sometimes the devotees think that the pure devotee is omniscient, knows it. What did Prabhupada say? Prabhupada said that the pure devotee knows everything that Krishna wants him to know. Not that he knows how many atoms are in a room or something he doesn't know. Not like Krishna, he knows everything, but not like Krishna knows everything. He knows everything that Krishna wants him to know. But you know, Krishna, he's the supreme person. There's many personalities, but Krishna, he's the supreme personality. And not only is he a personality, but as it's mentioned here, he's the most beautiful personality. No one is more attractive than Krishna except for Radharani. Very beautiful. So the supreme persons are the most beautiful persons. And by serving such beautiful personalities, devotees also become beautiful. Just like the priest used to say, they would say to Prabhupada, you know, these are our boys. And they weren't interested in God at all. And now they're mad after God. And they were dull looking before. Now they're bright faced. How is it? What have you done to them? And in Australia, one priest said, because so many youth were joining, and the priest asked, oh, we don't have any youth joining us. What have we done wrong? What did Prabhupada say? What have you not done wrong? Doing everything wrong. You're not following. So why, you're not following, you're not practicing, so why should they follow you? Prabhupada, he was preaching, but he also walked the talk. That was what was so attractive. And Krishna consciousness is so attractive in itself that anybody that's practicing it, then they experience the nature of the soul, eternality, knowledge, and bliss, happiness. This is what everybody is looking for. Everybody wants to be happy. But what are they thinking? They're thinking that through sense gratification, I'll be happy. Everybody is thinking, I just said, because they're thinking they are their senses. They're thinking they are their body. They're their senses. They're to satisfy the senses. That's the goal of life. Natevadu svartha gatingi Vishnu durasya ye mayarthamai antayathandara paniyama te pisa chantram urudam nivada. They don't know what is actually valuable. They think that just to satisfy the senses, that'll bring happiness. But who's happy? I remember before I joined the movement, I was thinking, well, who's happy in this world? So much anxiety and stress and frustration, disappointments. Who's happy? So I guess that's a kind of a prerequisite to practicing Krishna consciousness. You got to understand there's no real happiness in this world. Any of you also had that experience? Yeah? Although you didn't really get so much into material life, isn't it? Not like us. You guys kind of live pious lives. But I guess I'm hearing. So, but what is actually, they don't know what is actually valuable. What is actually valuable is to serve Krishna, is to understand who we are and understand who the Supreme is and to engage in devotional service. So this is what is actually valuable. So I thought I'd go on to the next verse. This is text 12. The Lord's magnanimous pastimes and the glowing glancing of his smiling face are all indications of his extensive benedictions. These are indications of his extensive benedictions. His magnanimous pastimes and the glowing glancing of his smiling face. These are indications of his extensive benediction. Just to hear the pastimes of Krishna, just like, I mean, when I read the Christian book, I was like, so this is God. So attractive, isn't it? So attractive. One must therefore concentrate on his transcendental form on this transcendental form of the Lord, as long as the mind can be fixed on him by meditation. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the impersonalists undergo a series of difficult programs on account of his impersonal meditation. But the devotee, due to the Lord's personal service, progresses very easily. Impersonal meditation is therefore a source of suffering for the impersonalists. Here, the devotee has an advantage over the impersonalist philosopher. The impersonalist is doubtful about the personal feature of the Lord, and therefore he always tries to meditate upon something which is not objective. Everybody wants to love, but how do you love just some energy? How can you just embrace the effulgence? No, you can't. You can't have any exchange. Nothing's just dry. And therefore the impersonalists, they fall down because a lack of bliss. There's no bliss there. For this reason, there is an automatic or authentic statement in the Bhagavatam regarding the positive concentration of the mind on the factual form of the Lord. So this purifies the mind. We all want to have a pure mind, right? Just thinking of Krishna purifies the mind. Thinking of devotional service, thinking of serving the devotees. All these things, they purify the mind. This is all positive. There's so much negativity, so we reject the negativity. Focus on the positive aspect of devotional service. The process of meditation recommended herein is bhakti yoga, or the process of devotional service after one is liberated from the material conditions. Jnana yoga is the process of liberation from the material conditions. After one is liberated from the conditions of material existence, that is, when one is nivritta, as previously stated herein, or when one is freed from all material necessities. There's that verse, nivritta tarsa upagiyamana bhavosha trotam lovira. Ka uttama shloka gunanamana pumang virjeti vidapashugna. One becomes qualified to discharge the process of bhakti yoga. Therefore, bhakti yoga includes jnana yoga, or in other words, the process of pure devotional service simultaneously serves the purpose of jnana yoga. Liberation from material conditions is automatically achieved by the gradual development of pure devotional service. These effects of bhakti yoga are called anartha nivritti. Tim, do you know what anartha nivritti means?
Being freed up of unwanted habits.
Yeah, very good. Things which are artificially acquired gradually disappear along with the progress of bhakti yoga. Meditation on the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, the first processional step, must show its effect by anartha nivritti. Like there's a whole system. Adau shraddha, tata sadhu, sangata bhajanat, taton artha nivritti, taton nishcha ruchistata. So the first one is you get some preliminary faith. Now, how can people get preliminary faith in Krishna? Association. Just like in the beginning, there were no books practically, right? There was no books. There was no Harinam out there. It's just Prabhupada. Prabhupada preaching. Now people get faith in devotees by association, by Harinam, by book distribution. But in the beginning, it's just Prabhupada. So they got great faith in Prabhupada. They gave their life to Prabhupada. Yeah. So association And therefore, that's also of the five. This is the most important: sadhu sangha, nam kirtan, bhagavat shravat, mathura bhav, Sri Mathura, Shraddhaya Seva. So this is the most important association. Therefore, Prabhupada wanted us to go out and preach. Universities, book distribution, so many ways to get out to the people. And this way they get association. Just like a couple of days ago, Vaisheshika Maharaj, he had a meeting with all these wealthy people. They got association, some good association. So, and so many, now we have so many devotees. And, you know how many people came for Janmashtami last year? About 13,000 people. So we got to get a bigger temple. So, by association, people associate with the devotee, just like when Lord Chaitanya was here, someone would come and hear the name of Lord Chaitanya and hear Lord Chaitanya chanting, and they would be inspired, and they would go into their village and they would, oh, this is what I saw, this is what I chanting, and then they would go on to another village, and it was just like, by this association, it was spreading more and more and more. So it's still going on. By Prabhupada's association, so many people got faith. Now we have so many devotees, big devotees. Now we're going to have the Sadhu Sangha, about 4,000 devotees show up. And by association, somehow by association. There was one devotee, he was a non-devotee. He saw the devotees this was in England, and he saw the devotees on television, Dodi, Kirtan, this is back in the early 70s, 72 or something. And he was a hippie, and his parents were a little disappointed, he became a hippie, and they were watching this television, and he saw the devotees on TV, and he told his mother, well, one thing you don't have to worry about, I'm not going to become like them. You don't have to worry about that. And then he became a big devotee. She said, well, wait a second, I thought you were going to become like that. He became a big devotee, preaching and everything. So, by association. The grossest type of anartha, which binds the conditioned soul in material existence, is sex desire. This is the biggest anartha. And this sex desire gradually develops in the union of male and female. When the male and female are united, the sex desire is further aggravated by the accumulation of buildings, children, friends, relatives, and wealth. When all these are acquired, the conditioned soul becomes overwhelmed by such entanglements, and the false sense of egoism, or the sense of myself and mine, becomes prominent. And the sex desire expands to various political, social, altruistic, philanthropic, and many other unwanted engagements, resembling the foam of the sea waves, which becomes very prominent at one time, and at the next moment vanishes as quickly as a cloud in the sky. The conditioned soul is encircled by such products, as well as products of sex desire, and therefore Bhakti Yoga leads to gradual evaporation of the sex desire, which is summarized in 3 headings, namely profit, adoration, and distinction. All conditioned souls are mad after these different forms of sex desire, and one shall see for himself how much he has been freed from such material hankerings based on primarily on sex desire, how much one is free of sex desire. It's a tough one. It's a tough desire to get free of. As a person feels his hunger satisfied after eating each morsel of foodstuff, he must similarly be able to see the degree to which he has been freed from sex desire. The sex desire is diminished along with its various forms by the process of Bhakti Yoga, because Bhakti Yoga automatically, by the grace of the Lord, effectively results in knowledge and renunciation, even if the devotee is not materially very well educated. If we become aware, if we become completely aware that we're the soul within, we're not the body, then sex desire is finished, right? Because we're aware, not this body, nor is that woman their body, their spirit soul. And the super soul is there. So to be conscious of the soul and the super soul, to go beyond the body, that's a very nice step to take. Knowledge means knowing things as they are, and if by deliberation it is found that there are things which are not at all necessary, which are at all unnecessary, naturally the person who has acquired knowledge leaves aside such unwanted things. When the conditioned soul finds by culture of knowledge that material necessities are unwanted things, he becomes detached from such unwanted things. This stage of knowledge is called vairagya, or detachment from unwanted things. We have previously discussed that the transcendentalist is required to be self-sufficient and should not beg from the rich, blind persons to fulfill the bare necessities of life. Excuse me. Sukadeva Goswami has suggested some alternatives for the bare necessities of life, namely the problem of eating, sleeping, and shelter. But he has not suggested an alternative for sex satisfaction. One who has the sex desire still within him should not at all try to accept the renounced order of life. For one who has not attained to the stage, there is no question of a renounced order of life. Well, that's a pretty heavy statement. Unfortunately, about half of our sannyasis have fallen down. It shouldn't have taken. There's, I forgot, Prabhupada said that there's a group of transcendentalists, there's many sannyasis, not one has fallen down. I forgot. You know which one? I forgot which one. You know?
I think it was Madhva.
Madhva. Yeah.
Yeah, because the sannyasis, the culture is so good. Practically, they have nothing to do with women.
Yeah. He said, Prabhupada said that the sannyasi cannot even sit in the same room with a woman. And if they touch a woman, they have to do some yajna. Yeah, they have to do some yajna and you get purified.
And they are always surrounded.
Yeah.
It's kind of assistance.
Protection.
Assistance. It's kind of different culture.
Yeah. For one who has not attained to this stage, there is no question of renounced order of life. So by the gradual process of devotional service under the guidance of a proper spiritual master and following the principles of the Bhagavatam, one must be able at least to control the gross sex desire before one accepts the renounced order of life factually. So purification means getting free gradually from sex desire. And this is attained by meditation on the person of the Lord as described here, beginning from the feet. One should not try to go upward artificially without seeing for himself how much he has been released from sex desire. The smiling face of the Lord is the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and there are many upstarts who at once try to begin with the 10th canto, and especially with the 5 chapters which delineate the Rasalila of the Lord. This is certainly improper. By such improper study or hearing of Bhagavatam, the material opportunists have played havoc by indulgence in sex life in the name of Bhagavatam. This vilification of Bhagavatam is rendered by the acts of the so-called devotees. One should be free from all kinds of sex desire before he tries to make a show of recital of the Bhagavatam. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur clearly defines the import of purification as cessation from sex indulgence. He says, Yata yata discha chujhati visaya lampatyam chajti tata tata dharaya chit iti chitta suda dhara maye naiva jnana taratyam utkam. And as one gets free from the intoxication of sex indulgence by purification of intelligence, one should step forward for the next meditation, or in other words, the progress of meditation on the different limbs of the transcendental body of the Lord should be enhanced in proportion to the progress of purification of the heart. The conclusion is that those who are still entrapped by sex indulgence should never progress to meditation above the lotus feet of the Lord. Therefore, recital of Srimad Bhagavatam by them should be recited to the first and second cantos of the great literature. One must complete the purificatory process by assimilating the contents of the first 9 cantos. Then one should be admitted to the realm of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. There was a great devotee named Yamunacharya. Alabandhara was his name before. He was in the Gurukul, a very bright boy. And there was one kingdom nearby. And in the kingdom, there was a pundit. And back then, there was a lot of competition. Like here in the West, the competition is sports. In India, even to this day, a lot of the competition is education. There's a lot of the competition in India, even to this day. So there would be debates. So this one scholar would go around to different mutts and he would debate. And if they would lose, they would have to pay a tax. Every year they'd have to pay a tax because they lost the debate. So this Alabandhara, his spiritual master, had lost a couple of times, and he had owed some debt. He was in debt. So this one servant of Kolahala, he went there, his disciple, and he banged on the door, and Alabandhara, he answered the door. He said, is your guru here? He owes debt. Then, excuse me, but who are you and what's this all about? He said, yeah, your guru, he lost debate. He's behind 2 years, so he has to pay. And he said, well, you're so arrogant. Your spiritual master must be also as arrogant since you're like that. So I challenge your guru in a debate. And he's like, what? You're just a kid. Yeah, that's right. If you judge intelligence by who's bigger than the buffalo would be the most intelligent. So he like, he was a little insulted. So when he told his guru, and then he said, all right. So the king invited, and the queen. Everybody started hearing about this boy wants to challenge the great Kalohala, the great pundit. Actually, he was a little proud, so people wanted to see him defeated. So somehow the queen, she heard about this debate, and she was like, I think this boy's gonna smash the pride of this Kolahala. And the king said, oh really? Well, you want to make a wager? She said, all right. If he loses, then may I become the servant of my maidservant. And he's like, well, that's pretty heavy. And then he said, and if he wins, then may he take half of my kingdom. That's pretty heavy too. So it was a big wager. So Alabandara, he showed up, and it was a big stadium there that we wanted to hear. I don't know how the sound system works. So, but it's like when Sukadeva Goswami, how many people were there? There's a lot of people. I don't know. Some mystical, I don't know how he did that. Anyway, so he, Kalohala, he presented many questions to Alabandhara, grammatical questions. And he answered them very quickly. And then he said, okay, now you ask. He said, so he said, I just have 3 things if you can refute. If not, then you're defeated. He said, your mother is not barren. Refute this as you can. And he's like, wait a second. I'm sitting here. So how can my mother be barren? So he didn't say anything. And then he said, refute this if you can. The king is righteous. Refute this if you can. The king is righteous. Refute this if you can. In other words, he's not righteous. Refute that. And the queen, she is chaste. Refute this if you can. He couldn't say anything. He's like,
Is it not the opposite?
no, that's right. So, the Kalahala, he said, I'm not defeated. You have to show that this is not true. You have to refute this yourself. So he said, he said, okay. So I said, you refute this if you can, that your mother is not barren. But according to Shastra, she's barren because she had only one son. And according to Shastra, if you have only one son, you're barren because all women like to have many sons, many children. Right? And the king, I said, refute this if you can, that he's righteous. It's said that the king, he accepts 1/6 of the sinful reactions. So he's not righteous. He's getting so much sinful reaction from the citizens. And the queen, I said, refute this if you can, that she's chaste. But it's mentioned in the Vedas that the king, he represents Agni, Surya, I think there's 6 demigods. So she's also the wife of all these demigods. So how can she be chaste? She's not chaste. And the queen said, yeah, this is right. Yeah, he's defeated. He's defeated. And there was a big uproar because nobody liked Kolahala. There was a huge uproar. He was defeated. You can imagine he just like walked out with just completely humiliated. Finished. He was finished. So he got half the kingdom. He's just a kid, 8 years old, 9 years old. So many kings thought, oh, he's just got a kid. He owns half the kingdom. So but he also got half the warrior, half the army. So he was sharp. So he was able to lead the army, and whoever tried to defeat him, defeated, and they would have to join him. So he was he was a king, but he was 34. At 34, one disciple went to his guru and said, is there any service I can do? You're leaving this world. He said, yes. Alavandara, he's become completely absorbed in material life. Go and make him a devotee again. Big challenge. He's a big king now. He was a good devotee, actually, up until he was like 8 or 9. Knew so many slokas and very nice. He was a favorite disciple. So he had to come up with a plan. And of course, then his guru passed away. So his plan was that there was a special herb that tasted very nice, and it also made one very peaceful. I forgot the name of it. Yeah, you might be able to find it. So he would bring this to the cook every day. He said, "Make this. It's very nice." The king will like it, and he did. He liked it. Every day it was being served him. One day he didn't bring it, and the king said, "Hey, where is that preparation? It's very nice, tasty." And there was one sadhu he was bringing it, but he didn't bring it to the inn. Next time he comes, bring it. Next day he brought it. Oh, the king wants to see. So just to see the king is not an easy thing. So this is how he was able to get in, see the king. He said, "You've been bringing this nice herb, it's very tasty. Thank you so much." And this disciple said, "Oh, I also have something to tell you. That your guru, he's passed away, and he's left a treasure for you. He's left a treasure for you." I said, "Okay, I like treasures. Let's go." He said, "But you can't bring your entourage. Just you and me. We'll go and we'll take you to this treasure." So the next day it was arranged, and they went walking. And as they were walking, he got to know this sadhu. He got to know Alabandara. So then, as they're walking, he started quoting verses, Bhagavad Gita verses, Bhagavatam verses, and this is all coming back to Alabandara, all these verses, because he was a bit of a scholar when he was young, so they were coming back, and he started chanting these verses also, again and again and again, chanting these verses. It's like, wow, this is so nice to remember these verses. And then eventually they got to a temple, and this devotee brought him into the temple, and he said, "This is the treasure that your guru has left you." And he said, the deities there. So he went and he paid obeisances to the deities, tears in his eyes. And just from the recitation of the verses and the association of the sadhu there and the deities, when he came out, he gave up everything. Then he became the great Jamunacharya, who is famous to this day. And in regard to, I'm saying this because it's in relation to this purport here. He composed a very famous verse. Yadavadhi mamacheta Krishna padarvinde navanavarasudani yantimatimati. Tadavadhi bhatanari sangame smayamani bhavati mukha vikara sustu stiva. Now, he was a king for a long time, so he was engaged in many licentious activities, many sinful activities. But he said, since I've been engaged in the love and service of Krishna, experiencing ever fresh pleasure at every moment, whenever I think of sex desire, I spit at the thought and my lips curl in distaste. Yeah. So he got a higher taste from devotional service. It's a very powerful verse. Here's a man who was completely absorbed in all these things, but he got the higher taste, and he was completely uninterested, just spit at the thought. So this is the extent that one can become detached, from material life. Now, in the early days, some of the devotees were a little fanatical, so they knew this verse, and some women would walk. It's very offensive, Of course, they all got married. They all got married. No, the women have to be very much respected. They would call them mother. Who do we respect more than our mother? The only person I ever opened the door for in my life before I joined the movement, I opened the door for my mother. We go to the store and open the door for my mother. So much respect for the mother. So no, and we have to have so much respect for the Maharajas, doing so much service. We did, but we have to spit at the thoughts. Like he would spit at the thoughts, not the women. The thought. Us would spit at our own mind. You know, we got to spit on. But it's kind of hard to spit on the thought. But that's the idea. The rascal mind, the thoughts, sinful thoughts. This is the problem. But Krishna is so attractive, as we're hearing here. Krishna is so attractive that we can become free of these desires by hearing about Krishna regularly, as we hear from Vijaya Kumar's a long time. That was actually Kapila Dev who said that to us. We had to hear for a long. And this is another age, and a long time back then was a long, long time. Here we don't have as much time.
Yeah.
Right? So every moment we can, we should hear. So is there any question or comment? More correction.
So how to deal with these kind of thoughts when they come in the mind?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram. And yeah, we have to think, what is the body? It's just a bunch of material elements. And what is the actual person? The soul. The actual person is the soul, not the body. It's the, Prabhupada says in the purport, it's the personification of illusion, a form of womb, personification of illusion. But that's what it is. It's the grand illusion. It's Maya's best magical trick. It's a trick. You think that beautiful form is going to bring pleasure. It's just the opposite. Not tatasya bhavat klesho bandhashchanya prasangata. Krishna says actually twice in the Bhagavatam. Of all types of suffering and bondage that arise due to material contact, none is greater than the suffering and bondage that a man experiences in the association of women, or a woman experiences in association. It goes both ways. Yeah.
To me, it looks like that when reading Srimad Bhagavatam, I got the kind of, I think it's third canto, probably also other cantos, was probably like fourth canto, that attachment of a man or a woman was kind of, it was basically very much discouraged. But attachment of a woman for a man, which is her husband, that's kind of very much praised and actually kind of, encouraged and praised and considered to be very
Chaste.
Yeah. So in that sense, why not a man's chastity to his wife is not so much praised as chastity of a wife or to a man?
Yeah. Well, that's also there. But Prabhupada mentions that the man, he should be very attached to Krishna. Very attached to Krishna. And then she becomes attached to him. And then she goes where he goes. Yeah. So the man, his duty is to be attached to Krishna. Yeah. And also her, she's also, not that she doesn't have to think of Krishna, she also thinks of Krishna. But this is the chastity, this is the chastity of a woman, that she, her Prabhu, your master. So, but yeah, both are there, but mostly it's the woman is to be attached to the husband. And the more, he shouldn't be attached to her. He should be attached to Krishna. But he should also not, engage in, sinful activities, go off with other women. Although there's polygamy, sometimes it was very common. Like Nanda Maharaj, he had, 18 wives or something? Nanda Maharaj. Or no, Vasudeva. Vasudeva. He had 18 wives, 16 or 18. Sisters. He had a lot of wives. He's a pure devotee. But he was attached to Krishna, and they were attached to him. Of course, the girls are also attached to Krishna, but this is the general.
Arjuna also had.
Oh yeah. A lot of wives. Yeah. That doesn't happen anymore. Yeah. But even 70 years ago, they had polygamy in India, right? I think. Because Prabhupada, he was going to marry again. Yeah. He didn't like his wife. He wanted to marry again. And then his father found out that he was trying to get another wife, and he said, actually, it's good that you don't like your wife, is good. Mm-hmm. And don't marry again. This is good. It would be easy to detach. And he had so much respect for his father. All right. Because he's wise. His father was wise. If he would have gotten another wife, maybe attached to that, we wouldn't be here now. So he kind of helped us out, So.